Hello, everyone. Just had a student ask about some of the current controversies about freedom of speech, and I guess there's the Trump blowout with the congressman in Atlanta, and there's Lewis. And what I try to explain to people in the class is that similar to like a lot of veteran service groups, we try to be non-political. Boy State, for example, we may deal with politicians to help lecture kids and teach them and show them what government is, but we're very careful not to say we're in the tank for this party or that party. We try to be very inclusive because at any point the winds of change can happen. And we noticed that in the last presidential election. There were a number of people that were very shocked. In Kentucky, for example, Matt Bevins was what we would call more of a dark horse candidate, and he won. He won not only the primary very closely, but he really did well in the general election. So again, you never know who's going to win or how they're going to win, and so the old expression, "Be careful as you go up the ladder who you have issues with." And there are times to have conflicts, and there's times to have hard discussions, and sometimes it's just a moral issue, ethical, or if you will, legal. And these things happen. That's the human condition, the human experience. Having said that, what's interesting is when people sit there and they start attacking other people, and it's really just political at the end of the day, they jeopardize the stability of things. For example, the presidency. I don't care if it's Carter, Reagan, Bush, the other Bush, um, Obama, or Trump. When you start attacking the system and trying to delegitimize it, then you start having real issues overall. For example, you may sit there and say, okay, good, we hurt that person, but you also hurt the country in the same expense. And so while you may have won a momentary battle, the longer issue is you've hurt the republic, you've hurt the government, and that may not be. You say, oh well, but it'll all get better when I'm in charge. Well, of course it always gets better because you're better than everybody else and smarter and the vanguard of the people. It doesn't work that way. So in this current environment, is that we have to get people to stop attacking based off of, if you don't like someone, say you're a hardened Democrat or a hardened Republican, and you just want to say, I don't like it because I don't believe I'm a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, then just say that. You don't have to make up things. You don't have to legitimize what you're doing. Just own it. Just say, this is why I don't like the person, and that's okay. At least people know where you're coming from. They see your bias and prejudice, and that's okay. Having said that, this is why government class is so hard to teach, because I have students that will come into this with the debate, well, look what happened with Trump because they're a Trump supporter, or look what happened to Lewis because they're a Lewis supporter. Well, I don't want that in the classroom. I want people to say, this is what happened, this was factual, and this is what should have happened. In reality, it didn't happen. So how do we get past it? How do we resolve things? How do we bring people together? And sometimes you just have to disagree on things. If someone's conservative or liberal, they're probably just not going to agree on a lot of things. One is more individual based, one is more team, or if you will, let's say community based, and that's the difference between that. This is two types of people. It's been there for the beginning of time. Okay. Having said that, it doesn't mean we have to be ugly. It doesn't mean that one side is completely wrong or completely right. We have to sit there and start looking at these things. So with this controversy, um, with that issue, when you sit there and throw down like that and you're ugly to a person who's about to be the president, well, what do you think's going to happen? What? Then again, if Trump goes too far, he's going to lose some support. But then again, one could argue he's already lost it. So what does he have to lose? But it's similar to the military. I saw an officer, he made critical remarks about Obama. I don't agree with that. It's not only against the law for a commissioned officer to make comments about the president. It doesn't matter what president, though, because if you say it's okay with the person you don't like, then what happens when it's the person you do like? The rules have fallen apart and the system falls down. And how are we supposed to follow orders in the military if the rules have all fallen apart? Then we have the other issue with these national security advisors, and what I think is funny about it is a lot of these people are making comments, and they wrote a letter and signed their name, and now they're shocked that they might be blacklisted. But I can ask my 11-year-old daughter, like I did at breakfast, hey, what happens if two people are running for a job, and one of them's going to be a boss, and you decide you're going to write a letter and make it very public you don't like the one, and they get the job? What do you think is going to happen? She goes, oh, you're going to be a sorry Sam. You're going to be a sad Sam. you're gonna probably be punished, or they're not gonna like you. That's an 11-year-old. She gets it. So the agency people, along with the military and all that, they need to do their job, and they need to shut their pie hole, and they need to sit there and just be neutral, just like the veteran service groups, just like what we did when we served in the military. Neutral. You may have opinions, you may express them in home or between very, very close friends, but the minute you say something outwards and someone reports it, or if you will, in a very public way, you're opening yourself up for exposure. And again, this is why it's hard to teach political class, because people see it as I have to win. And winning means everyone agrees and everyone supports me. Well, that's not how it works. So I don't care in the class if you choose a left or right or neutral, moderate, green, libertarian. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. Just pick where you're at, research it, write it good, in a quality way, and then respect other people's opinions. And if you write effectively, you will change people's opinions or minds. But if you write the way a lot of people are talking now and attacking and dividing, you're never going to get anywhere. So the system does have a lot of compromise in it. So there's a lot of solutions that have to be worked on together. But apparently that's not the biggest, that's not the cool thing to do right now. But having said that, the country has been in much worse places. The Civil War would be an example. So I hate when people say, "Oh, it's never been worse. It's never been worse." That's not true. We had a Civil War. It was a lot worse then. Okay, so enough of that. That's his drama and people being political, and actually it kind of shows an ignorance of history, which is not hard to see most of the time in these debates. So again, from the classroom perspective, I think the best thing is to say, you know what, I may not agree with the teacher or some people in class, or I may agree or not, but just do quality work. And for the most part, I would say for the most part, is that most professors can appreciate quality work, and they can appreciate good writing and good researching and good analysis. They may not agree with it, but they can typically look past that. Now there are some that are very conservative or very liberal, and they preach in the classroom, and that's I don't believe is correct. But having said that, at that point maybe you cater to that whatever they want. Just remember, what do they call it? Shut up and color. Graduate. But that's not a good professor that tries to sit there and use the classroom to beat one group of students down or to benefit a student because they agree. That's not really the way it should be. But again, people are people, and humans make mistakes, and we all have our failings. So again, that's a brief video, at least from my perspective on the classroom. Mutual respect, treat people with that dignity that you would want. You may not agree with them, but have the discussion versus yelling, screaming, argument, name calling, and just move past that and do the best you can. You can control what you can. You can be the change you want. And remember, in a few weeks, you're out of the class and you move on to the next classroom. You don't have to worry about that person ever again. So I appreciate that, and best of luck.